Hello, my name is Macy. I'm a 42-year-old woman who's been married twice. My second marriage has been amazing. My first was a train wreck. My first husband's name is Bobby, and we were high school sweethearts. We were your typical jock and cheerleader couple. We had a good time together, and he made me happy at that time. He was also my first relationship, so that was why I went so above and beyond for him. I thought he was my forever, and I sure acted like it too. We planned to go to the same university so we could be together, but in my second year, at 19 years old, I got pregnant. Now, my family was not happy, and neither was I. My mom warned me constantly that life would not be blissful, especially with Bobby. My family never liked him, although they could never tell me why, other than just that something about him felt off. Of course, as a teenager, I wanted to prove them wrong and rebel against them, so I ignored all their concerns. Our families agreed to support us until we graduated and got good jobs, which I was and still am super grateful for. Bobby and I got married in court, and we had our first child. At first, Bobby was an amazing father. I felt like I was proving everyone wrong. And then, about 2 years later, I got pregnant again. This time, I was a college graduate, but I had to quit my job so I could stay back and take care of the kids. Bobby worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. It was a tough life, but at that time, I felt that as long as I had Bobby by my side, nothing could make me feel bad. But a couple of months after our second child, Bobby began to behave very differently. I tried to talk to him about it, but he never budged. And then one day, I had taken the kids out for a walk and came back to an empty apartment. None of Bobby's things were there. I panicked, of course, and seeing me panic made the kids cry. I tried calling him several times, but each time took me to voicemail. I remember rushing to my mother's place with 2 kids that were bawling while I tried my best to hold back my tears. My mother looked alarmed when she opened the door and let me in. What happened? I think Bobby left me. What? What do you mean? I took the kids for a walk, and when I got back, the house was empty of all his things. I can't get a hold of him either. Oh no. Do you know why he might have left? I don't know. He'd been acting very differently for a while, but he wouldn't talk to me at all, and then today just happened. Okay, calm down a little. We should wait a little while, and if he doesn't show up, we'll file for divorce, and I'll help you out. But I loved him. How could he do this to his children? I know. I wish I could find him for you and ask him all these questions, but we have to move on. Not because it'll heal you, but because you have 2 kids to raise. My mom was right. So I spent the next few months painfully getting over him while raising 2 kids who looked a lot like him. I cried myself to sleep for many nights, but eventually months turned into years, and I slowly got over the pain. My kids obviously asked questions about their father, and when they were old enough, I told them the truth. They were devastated, but surprisingly understanding about their past. Together, as a family, we learned to live past the pain. My mom was obviously the biggest help for us, and she made raising 2 kids easier than it would have been all by herself. I happened to meet my current husband, Fred, at a bar 13 years after Bobby left me. I was out with my friends for one of their birthdays. My mom had the kids, and I figured it was the best time to let loose and have a little fun with my friends. For the better of the night, I stuck to my friends, and we just chatted and laughed for the most part. Towards the end of the night, I got approached by Fred. My friends had been begging me to get with the guy for years, but I was always too traumatized by Bobby to ever try again. So when Fred approached me, my friends left to go watch from further away as I made conversation with him. Fred started by asking me if he could buy me a drink. I was not going to turn down a free drink, so I obviously said yes. We waited until we got our drinks to properly start talking. So, what brings you here? It's my friend's birthday and I'm just here to celebrate with her. That's nice. How about I send over some drinks for all of them? All of them? There are 7 more people there. It's all right. I'll make up all the money I spent here in the next 2 hours, so no worries. Whoa, so you're rich? Ha, I guess you could say that. Of course I'm not trying to brag or anything. No, it's a great thing to flaunt. Not a lot of people get to do that, and not to mention you aren't being a prick about it. You're buying a bunch of strangers drinks because I told you that it was one of their birthdays. What can I say? I have a particular weakness for pretty women. You're so weak, you'll believe everything they say, even lies? Yes, of course. Although, did you lie? No. It is one of their birthdays, but it is concerning that pretty women make you weak. You should get that checked. How about you help me with it? Maybe if I had a pretty woman by my side, I'd only have a weakness for one woman. I could think of that. It was such a self-esteem boost to have been called pretty by Fred, especially because Fred looked gorgeous. He looked like he was worthy of being on the cover of a big magazine like Vogue. I was also surprised by my ability to casually flirt back with him. That was not something I was usually capable of. I was very much an introvert, so I don't know if it was the drink or just the aura that Fred radiated, but I felt comfortable enough to be flirty. Eventually my friends came and got me, but not before profusely thanking Fred for the drinks. Before I left, Fred and I exchanged numbers, and from then on, we were constantly talking to each other. It started off as texts, and then we would call each other whenever we had nothing going on, or if we had something interesting to share. We also started meeting up a lot more often. At first, we met up in very public places, but as the months went by, we started hanging out at each other's places. I remember the way my jaw dropped when I walked into his house because it was quite literally a mansion. Fred laughed at my shock and told me that I should get used to his wealth because it would soon be mine. Fred was very open about wanting to marry me. He told me countless times how he had never felt so comfortable around anyone aside from me, and that only made me love him more. Fred was also more than open to me having kids. I remember him being particularly upset for me when I told him about Bobby. Ever since I told him, he went above and beyond to show me just how much I meant to him. Fred and Bobby were worlds apart, and it wasn't until Fred that I understood why so many people did not want me marrying or even just being with Bobby. I was glad that I got out of it, but I hated the way it happened. Fred helped me heal and forget all about it, which I was super grateful for. We only dated a year before getting married. We had a destination wedding and we flew out all our guests, which were technically just a handful of them, because we only wanted those who were really close to us to be there. My kids were super happy for me and told me constantly that they loved Fred, which in my head was another big win. Life from then moved on very smoothly. Every single worry I had was eased. Fred helped my kids out with their education as well, even though I told him that I would take care of it. He showed me that he accepted us as a package deal and not just me and then my kids. He had my kids' rooms decorated and set up to their liking even before we moved in together. Fred did everything that Bobby didn't and more. That was a true point of healing for my small family. And that's how our family grew from then on. Fred and I had a child of our own, yet he never treated my kids differently. About a year after Fred and I got married, my kids asked him to legally adopt them, which once again was a turning point in our family. After that, we became one big family. We did everything that families did, like going out to eat, going on vacations, doing fun things, etc. I was also doing well in my career, and Fred, well, his company was also doing amazing. There was not a single thing in my life that was wrong. Before I knew it, 7 years had passed. One day, out of the blue, I got a call from an unknown number. Hello? Look who it is, it's Macy. Who is this? Don't you recognize me? I don't think you remember much anyway. It's Bobby here. How are you doing? Bobby? What the hell? How did you even get my number? I forgot how whiny you are. I just happened to come across your number and I thought I'd give you a call to see how life has been treating you since you left me? Oh, come on, Macy. We were having way too much trouble and both you and I know that we would have gotten divorced anyway. So you just chose to leave without saying a word? Well, I wanted to avoid all the emotional drama, so I did what I had to do. You are a piece of work. A pretty rich piece of work. Do you know what good it has done me to have left you? I swear it was the best decision of my life. Are you being serious right now? Yes, I married this really rich woman who had kids, but I was willing to overlook it because of her money. She came through though because she got me this amazing job that pays me so much money. I'm living my absolute dream. So you abandoned the kids you did have to father someone else's kids? You got to do what you got to do, am I right? Please, never call me again. Goodbye. I was seething. The pure audacity of that man to call me only to brag about his new rich lifestyle. Of course, a part of me wanted to carry on the conversation with him so I could find out where he was, only so I could go there and punch him. But at the same time, I was so overwhelmed with so many different emotions that I could barely think straight. But after I cut the call on him, I felt so much hurt. Not for me, but for my kids. My poor kids grew up for the better parts of their lives without a father who was in fact too busy fathering his new wife's children. I knew we were struggling, but what did he expect? We were only high school graduates when we had our first child. Where in the world would we have gotten money for ourselves? At the same time, I felt disgust roll over me. He was the classic definition of a sleazebag. He clearly wasn't one to give someone attention unless they had something to offer him. I decided to block his number because I didn't want to deal with him anymore. The chapter of my life had been closed for long enough and I never wanted it back open. I told Fred about it later on that night and he was understandably upset. But he was also glad that I blocked Bobby's number. We decided to move forward from that. About a week later, I got a call from another unknown number. It was Bobby once again. At this point, I was beginning to get frustrated. He called to brag again about his luxurious lifestyle. He told me all about the new expensive car he had just bought and how his kids were doing amazing at school. I didn't care to be polite this time and just hung the phone up on him. That did not stop him. He kept calling every week after that to keep telling me about all his expensive purchases. I kept blocking him with every number he called, but it seemed like he kept using different numbers to call me. At some point, I stopped picking up because then he only called me frequently. It seemed like he derived some sort of sick pleasure from bothering me so much. One particular day, I was at work and I was stressed when Bobby called me. "Oh, hey, Macy. Can't you just leave me alone?" "Oh, come on. I'm making up for the time that's been lost." "Well, you're 20 years too late. The kids don't care about you and neither do I. Leave me alone." "You know you love it, Macy." "I really don't. I don't want to hear anything about you or your new good life." "Why? Are you jealous? Are you jealous that I'm living the life that you'll never be able to live?" "I can assure you I don't." "Well, Here's something that will definitely make you jealous. I just got a promotion. I don't give a crap. You know you're jealous. I just got a promotion at Digidome, one of the finest media companies. I'm going to hang up. I was furious and annoyed, but something he said kept tickling my brain. I was way too angry to think about it at that moment, so I let it go. When I got back home afterward, I thought about what it was that Bobby said that tickled my brain, and then it hit me. He said he worked for Digidome, one of the finest media companies, which I had to agree with. They were responsible for hiring and recruiting some of the most talented influencers and journalists in our city. The reason that I kept thinking about it, Fred is the CEO and founder of the company. Bobby was working for my husband. I could not believe how wonderfully the universe aligned for me. That meant that I could finally teach Bobby a good lesson, not only for bothering me, but also for abandoning his children. I waited with excitement until Fred got back home. When he did, I told him all about what had happened during the day. Did something happen? Why do you seem so hyper? Nothing happened per se, but I did find out something big. Oh, what is it? So, Bobby called again. That sick son of a gun. I swear if I had any way to get a hold of him, I would beat him up real good. That's the thing. He may be way closer than we ever expected. Huh? What do you mean? Well, today he called me to brag about his big promotion at work, which is Digidome. You mean to tell me that he works at my company? Yeah. At first, I couldn't help but think his company name sounded really familiar, and then it hit me. Did you really not remember the company I created? Listen, I was way too angry to remember my own name. Cut me some slack. I'm kidding. Anyways, do you want me to fire him? Absolutely, but before you do, I was wondering if there was going to be any way to humiliate him. Definitely. Bold of you to think that I wasn't going to fire him in the worst way possible for him. With that, we began planning how to go about creating the best revenge plan. We decided that we would wait a few more weeks before executing our plan to fire him. That was because we were going to record his calls to me and have them played in front of everyone. The company was going to hold a huge event in 2 months, and to our luck, Bobby was going to be in charge of it. There were going to be several big names present, and we were going to tarnish his reputation. Over the next few weeks, I was able to pick up all of Bobby's calls without getting frustrated or angry. Just knowing that I had the biggest upper hand was enough to put a smile on my face as I listened to him ramble about his wealth and my lack of it. But this time, I made sure to record every conversation. These conversations were going to come back to bite him hard, and I couldn't wait for it. At the end of the 2 months, the event happened. I originally didn't plan to go because I didn't like big crowds or having to talk to a lot of people, which was why no one really knew who the big boss's wife was. However, this event was where I would make my appearance. I wanted to see Bobby's fall while I sat on the throne. Fred bought me this gorgeous and very expensive dress, and that was what I wore. I stayed in the car until Fred called me because we didn't want Bobby to see me and make a run for it. I only entered when Fred gave his speech in which he told everyone about how he wanted to introduce his wife for the first time. When I walked up on that stage, Bobby was standing there. I saw his face drop and pale. I smirked at him as I walked by. He pulled out his handkerchief to dab the sweat that was all over his face. Fred then went on to praise me and talked about how much of an impact I had had on him these past 7 years, and how it had been a joy to raise my kids with me. With every praise Fred aimed at me, I saw Bobby sweat even more. I beamed with pride as the crowd clapped for me, and then Fred's speech took a turn. He began to talk about how I had been getting harassed by my ex-husband recently. He told the crowd about how my ex-husband had abandoned me and my kids to go father another woman's children just because she had wealth. But the universe had different plans for my ex-husband because he was working for his company. The crowd gasped and erupted into murmurs about who my ex could have been. Fred asked everyone to quiet down and told them that he was going to reveal who it was. Bobby kept looking towards the exit, but he knew that if he dashed it, Fred would not even have to reveal who it was because he would have outed himself. Fred then pointed towards Bobby and told everyone that it was him. The crowd once again erupted in murmurs. Bobby looked like he was about to pass out, but Fred wasn't done yet. He told everyone that he had proof of all of this and proceeded to play the recordings of all the calls that Bobby had made to me in the past few weeks. Bobby stilled as he heard everything. Fred then announced that because of everything that Bobby did, he would no longer be working with his company. The crowd cheered for Fred and me as we walked off the stage. Bobby was escorted off the event and the rest of it went smoothly. I had served my revenge and there was nothing sweeter than that. Fred and I had a blast at that event, and I even managed to find someone who offered me a position at their firm. The day after the event, I got my last phone call from an unknown number. "You're awfully bold to call me again after last night. You tricked me." "Whatever do you mean?" "You absolute witch. Don't play stupid with me. How could you not tell me that you were married again? And that too, married to my boss?" "Like I told you several times, Bobby, I simply didn't care about you." "I know that, but the decent thing for you to do was to inform me." "So you would only stop harassing me if you knew who my husband was? And if my husband wasn't your boss, you would have continued to do it?" "Don't twist my words." "I'm not twisting anything. And you're one to talk about being decent, Bobby. You know what decent thing you have done? Not abandon your family. If you could do something like that, I can do something like this. Have fun with your current family, and I hope you'll find a new job." "I don't have a current family. My wife left me because of yesterday and she took the kids. And it's all because of you." "I didn't do anything. You did this to yourself. If you had just not called me, your life would have been what you had always wanted it to be. But I guess you can't have your cake and eat it too. Goodbye, Bobby, and good luck." It felt liberating to finally get back at Bobby and to know that I destroyed everything good in his life. I hope that Bobby learns to never mess with me or my family again, because he will never get anything good out of that. Fred and I continue to thrive together, and our kids have grown into wonderful adults. My life is once again going smoothly, and I no longer stress out about Bobby's calls. I'm finally vindicated, and I feel way lighter than I have for the first time in a long while. Thank you for listening to my story. Hello guys, my name's Harley, and I want to tell you about my horrible stepmother, Lena. I will be calling her Lena in my story because she never was my mother or even interested in being one. I mean, this is what she told me when my dad, Cameron, first introduced me to her. She didn't do it in front of him, though. She said, "I don't want you getting any ideas about me being your mother, Harley. You are just my husband's daughter and nothing else. You are a teenager, so don't expect me to ever slave myself for you." That's okay, Lena. I'm perfectly capable of doing things on my own. I just want my dad to be happy. I won't
come in the way." "You are already in the way, you little witch. Don't try to be smart with me. I know how to manage worthless teens like you. As soon as you turn 18, I will do my best to make sure you are out of our lives for good. Then I will have Cameron all to myself." The talk escalated very quickly to Lena saying some exceptionally nasty things about me and my dead mother. Yes, my father was a widower and my mom died when I was only 8. I miss her terribly, and it took Dad a long time to date, let alone find love again. That was one reason why I never told my dad about Lena's horrible words or behavior. Big mistake, guys. I should have spoken up because this woman turned into a nightmare after she married Dad. Even Dad was taken aback by her behavior. Lena always targeted me and did her best to turn me out of the house. She made it clear that she hated children and didn't want me around. That was something she never told my dad before they dated. When Dad refused to abandon me, she started to find ways to harass me. She used to mess up her food and put the blame on me. She said, "Will you look at your daughter, Cameron? Look at what she's done. She has purposefully spoiled my cooking because I refuse to cook for her. She is going to poison me one day, Cameron." "Holly, do you have an explanation for this?" "I swear I don't know anything about this, Dad. I'm perfectly happy to cook for myself. I wasn't even in the house before you came home, and I bought takeout to eat in my room." "Oh God, she's lying now, Cameron. I'm telling you that you need to get rid of her before she kills me." This is just one small example of what Lena has been up to for 4 years she was in my life. The entire fiasco was over too much salt on her food, which she had added herself to blame me. It was bizarre, but Dad believed me. I had enough proof. Throughout the year, she did a lot more. She got me off the phone connection, locked me out of the house for 5 hours, took my car keys on the day of an important test, threw away my project that I spent a week making, and much more. Dad did his best to make her understand that this wasn't okay, but she never listened. She would act friendly for a few days before doing something horrible again. By the time Lena was with us for a year, I got a job and started to pay for a lot of my own things. I simply didn't want her interfering in my life anymore. Dad was upset, but I told him that it would be nice for me to have money of my own. I didn't want him to feel guilty. Lena was a stay-at-home wife and considered her dad's money as her own. So she didn't want Dad spending too much on me. Not even some of the basics. I tried to be as invisible as possible so that Lena would leave me the hell alone. She never took the hint and continued to harass me. She wanted to keep her word of removing me from her life and the house. But she had no idea what fate had in store for us. The real fiasco happened a few weeks after my 18th birthday. Since I turned 18, Lena has been in a good mood. She was chirping and sometimes singing gleefully in the house. I knew why she was so happy. She was thinking that she would finally be able to get rid of me. Well, not so fast, Lena. She had no idea that I had heard her talking to her friend on the phone. She told me how she would ambush me and kick me out. I knew her plan already, but she had no idea what was in store for her. So the day I came home from work and saw my stuff packed, I was not upset, but just amused. I said, "Hey, Lena, want to tell me why my stuff is packed and waiting in my bedroom? Are we going on vacation?" "Don't act so smart, Harley. I hope you remember my words. I told you that once you turn 18, I will be kicking you out. Well, it is time for you to leave. Now, I have decided to be a good person and pack your stuff for you. You know, make things easier for you. So, you want to kick me out of my house? Oh, no, Harley. This is my house. And I don't want or have to keep you here anymore. I will deal with Cameron later, but you are leaving for sure. Lena had this overconfident smirk on her face, which told me that she was pleased with herself. She had already started to make plans in her head of what she would do with my room, but like I said, not so fast, Lena. Karma is just about to come for you. I calmly took out some documents from my bag and handed them to her. When she looked at me confused, I just smirked and said, I think you need to take a look at these papers first, Lena. I have been meaning to give you this for a while. Thank God you talked about the eviction today. It just made me remember these documents. What are these papers? Why do I need to read them? Why don't you take a look and find out? Lena sat down and started to read the papers that I had just handed her. She started out looking confused, but slowly her confusion turned into shock and then disbelief. She looked at me and then at the papers in her hand again. Then she turned angry. She said, "Is it an eviction notice in my name? What the hell, Harley? What is the meaning of this?" "It means that I want you out of my house in a month. You know the usual thing that an eviction paper means." You can't serve me eviction papers. You can't do that. This is my house and I am the only one who can kick people out. No, Lena, this is my house and has always been so. My dad was just a caretaker who held this place for me until I turned 18. Now that I have, it belongs to me. I have just recently completed the documentation process. No, that's impossible. Cameron can't just give you this house. This is our marital asset, and he can't give you the house without consulting me. How is this a marital asset, Lena? Dad had this house before you were in the picture. I guess he didn't tell you that this house actually belonged to my maternal grandparents. They left the house to me and appointed Dad to hold the house until I turned 18, which I did just a few weeks ago. No. You have to be lying to me. This can't be true. You were trying to scam me and kick me out of the house. Wait till your father hears about it. He will kick you out instead. Lena then made the ridiculous mistake of calling my father downstairs. She forgot the fact that she never asked my dad if she could kick me out. I mean, even if the house belonged to my father, she should have asked him, right? She knew what his answer would be, so she went behind his back to kick me out. In her frenzy, she forgot this little detail and decided to involve Dad. I'm not complaining, though. It's even better for me this way. Dad came downstairs to check what the yelling was about. He said, "Whoa, calm down, Lena. Why are you yelling like a banshee? What is wrong?" "Why won't I be screaming? Your worthless daughter is making some wild claims again. She's saying that this house belongs to her and she is kicking me out." "Harley, what is going on? I need to know the truth." I knew that my dad would ask my side. He's a good father who knows that his wife can be a mean witch. So he always takes action after considering both sides. This is something that Lena always hated. She wanted Dad to take her side no matter who was in the wrong. I can't tell you how many fights they had on this. Still, Dad wanted to be fair towards us all. That's exactly why he asked for my side as well. I said, "Lena calmed me down and told me that she was kicking me out. She said something along the lines of, 'I won't allow you to stay in my house anymore.' I knew that she was going to do this. I heard her speaking to someone on the phone, so I decided to kick her out of the house instead. I served her an eviction notice." "What the hell? Lena? Who gave you permission to try and kick my daughter out? You never discussed this with me. What is going on? Why am I hearing about this now? Lena knew that she had messed up at the moment. Like I said, she was so overwhelmed with the eviction notice that she forgot about being caught. I saw her panic for a while before turning hostile and defensive like she usually does. She said, "Your daughter is already an adult, Cameron. She had turned, and we let her stay in the house rent-free for a month already. Most parents kick their kids out once they turn 18. We need to make Harley learn to live on her own and become responsible." That's for me to decide, Lena. You are not and never was her parent. You didn't even contribute to anything related to Harley. How did you think it was okay for you to decide when to kick out my daughter? You were being unfair, Cameron. All these years I put up with your favoritism because Harley was a teenager. But now she needs to go. I won't let her stay in my house anymore. Who said this is your house? Which deed shows that this house is in your name? Well, it's your place, so I have equal rights to it since I am your wife. So this is my house too. I won't allow Harley here anymore. She needs to go. This is not my house, and even if it was, you have no right to it. This is Harley's house and has her name on it. Lena heard that and went pale. She didn't expect my dad to mirror my words and say that the house belonged to me. She was in her own fairyland where everything belonged to her just because she said so. Hearing anything else was nothing short of shocking and surprising for her. She began to cry and said, "Why would you say such a thing, Cameron?" "Because the house belongs to Harley. I'm just speaking the truth. What's wrong with that?" "You gave Harley your house without consulting me. How could you do this, Cameron? I'm your wife. You should have discussed this with me. I am not okay with this." "You had no problem going behind my back and trying to kick my daughter out. Why can't I do the same, Lena? Talk about double standards. And there was nothing to discuss. This house was always supposed to be Harley's. I was the only trustee who took care of the house until she turned 18. The house got transferred to her name just recently." Lena now understood that we were telling the truth. Dad even offered to show her the papers in case she needed proof. She was in way too much shock to do or say anything coherent. She said, "You deceived me, Cameron. I thought that the house was yours. You lied to me. This is not fair." "I never lied to you, Lena. You never asked whose house this was. When we got married, we signed a prenup saying that our personal assets were just that, personal." "Oh my God, this can't be true. You should have told me, Cameron. Now Harley is throwing us out. Look at how ungrateful your daughter is, Cameron." "I am not throwing my dad out, Lena. That reward is solely yours. You're the one who won't get to live in my house anymore. I would have considered letting you stay here. I told Dad as much. But after you tried to kick me out, I changed my mind. You are going to leave. If you kick me out, your dad will follow as well. We are a couple. He won't abandon his wife." Now, it was my father's turn to laugh out loud. He already made plans of his own that I knew about. But he was unsure whether to go ahead with it or not. I guess today's events made the decision easier for him. He was about to blow up his marriage, and Lena didn't see it coming at all. He said, "Actually, no, I am not following you, Lena. I will stay here and take care of my daughter. I have been on the fence about divorce for a while now. What you tried to do today sealed the deal for me. I will be filing tomorrow. Be ready for it." "Wait, what? Are you going to divorce me? You want to leave me over your shit daughter? You can't do that." Yes, I can, Lena. You think I was going to forgive you for tormenting my daughter for 3 years? Oh, hell no. All this while I thought that you might change. I have been nothing but patient with you. But now I know that you will continue to be a toxic witch. I don't want someone like this in my or my daughter's life. Lena took a step back as if she had been physically hurt. She never expected her divorce to come so soon. My dad is actually a pretty quiet man who doesn't do anything drastic. This was actually unlike him. He was mad and his facial features showed that. He didn't shout, but his tone gave away the fact that he was very angry. It made Lena even more anxious. She started to argue with my dad, and I chose to leave that space to retreat to my room. Dad and Lena fought for an hour straight. It was mostly Lena shouting and crying while my father explained his reasons to her calmly. After the verbal fight ended, Dad came to my room. He seemed a little upset and refused to meet my eye. He sat down and said, "Harley, I know I need to apologize to you. I'm sorry, dear. I should have done a better job of protecting you against Lena. I thought that by being fair and avoiding fights, I would be able to make things work. I was stupid, and I made things worse for you." "You don't have to apologize, Dad. I know you loved Lena, and she wasn't like this when she married you. People change, and sometimes it takes time to come to terms with these changes." "Wow, you have matured a lot, you know. I wish I could have done things differently. I intentionally brought a mad woman into our lives." "Well, what is done. I forgive you, Dad. You really did try your best. I'm not complaining. Do you want to divorce Lena? I won't be mad if you don't. I would understand." "Girl, I'm not living with that mad woman anymore. I'm done. Her true face shocked me way too much to act faster. I really don't want her in my life anymore. Although I must say that I saw this coming. Somewhere in my subconscious, I knew something was up with Lena. That's why I made the prenup in the first place. I was worried that she would jinx your future and make trouble with money. So I thought this would be the best way." "See, you did think about me too. You deserve to be happy, Dad. That's all I want to say. If Lena doesn't mean anything to you anymore, it's best you separate." I spent a hell of a lot of time assuring my dad that he is not the horrible parent of the year. In fact, he went even close. He did a lot for me, and I knew that. I just needed to make him believe that too. I won't lie, guys, I was super happy that my dad was finally getting rid of that crazy woman, Lena. She is not the one for Dad, and has no business staying married to him. Not after everything she did all these years. The talk with my dad went well, and he went to the guest room to sleep. That night, I was finally feeling peaceful, knowing that Lena would soon be out of our lives for good. I was able to teach her a nice lesson that I hoped she would remember for the rest of her life. The real surprise came the next morning when I found Lena trying a little too hard to appear loving and caring towards me. She was in the kitchen, making me breakfast and acting like I was the best person in her life. Even Dad was giving her the side eye and looking at me with confusion on his face. When breakfast was over, I said, "Thanks for breakfast, Lena, but you don't have to do this anymore. I'm capable of making my own, as I have done for the last 6 years. Things don't need to change out of the blue." "What nonsense, Harley. I'm happy to do this for you. You having our meals together can bring us closer as a family." "What is the need for that? We won't be a family anymore. It's just a matter of time now. You should have done this years ago. It's too late now." "Oh, come on, Cameron. Don't be so hard on me. I'm trying. I can make this work. I will start being a better parent to Harley. We will be the best mother-daughter duo ever. Right, Harley?" I knew what Lena was trying to do. She had been backed into a corner and took the night to come up with a plan. I knew better than to trust her in my life. Looking at Dad, he had no intention of trusting her again either. He only looked at her a little amused. Since Lena was expectantly looking at me for a reply, I said, "I don't think so, Lena. First of all, I'm 18 and I don't need a new parent. I pay my own bills and will be off to college anyway. Secondly, you are and never will be my mother. That word doesn't suit you at all. So no, Harley, I am not interested in whatever scheme you have come up with." "Harley, look, I'm sorry for being so mean to you in the past. You need to give people chances, dear. We can be a happy family if you agree to give me a chance, and it will help me strengthen my marriage too. Dad says that you have a marriage within a few months. I don't know what you're trying to strengthen. If it's a ploy to try and stay in this house, I'm sorry to say it won't work. I'm kicking you out anyway. And I am going to divorce you anyway. You have already done the damage, Lena. There is no point in trying to act all innocent and remorseful. I know you better than that." Lena saw that her new strategy was not working. I guess she didn't have anything else in her ammo. She couldn't threaten to ruin Dad financially because of a prenup she signed, so she had no other way than to beg and cry. And she did deliver. She started to cry hysterically and begged me not to kick her out. She also begged me to ask my dad to give her another chance. She then begged my dad to be a little more forgiving. Our entire day was filled with Lena trying to beg and plead with us for mercy. Since me and my dad were both off from work that day, we had to put up with this torture. My dad did leave for a while to contact a lawyer and file for divorce. Lena received the papers within a week. Dad's lawyer had them served. Lena upped her begging and crying after she was served the papers. Me and Dad graciously informed her that she needed to get a job if she wanted a place to live and a lawyer for her divorce. She was convinced that she would convince us to give her a chance. Well, that didn't happen. As the month was up, she was promptly kicked out. She made some trouble when we told her to leave, but after Dad threatened her with more legal trouble, she left sobbing. I heard that she moved in with a friend since her own family can't stand her anymore. As she left, she took the negativity with her, and the house finally felt like home. It's been more than 2 years since the incident. I am now in college, which happens to be close to home. Dad has successfully divorced Lena and is back to dating. He says that he isn't looking to settle again, but just wants some company at times. As for Lena, last I heard, she moved into a flat with several flatmates and is struggling to make ends meet. Since she doesn't have a lot of qualifications, she is working a minimum wage job and just getting by. I saw her at a grocery store from afar. She looked like she had aged 10 years more. Karma had caught up with her and hopefully taught her a lesson never to try this shit again.
Hello, friends. My name is Mia, and I'm here to tell you the story of how I ruined my mother-in-law's life. Well, Rita, my mother-in-law, ruined her own life, but she may think that I am responsible for it. If she hadn't tried to make her son, Nigel, divorce me, she would have avoided getting divorced herself. So anyway, here is what happened and how I got rid of Rita's toxic presence from my life. Rita absolutely hated me. Why? No reason as such. She hated every woman her son Nigel dated. I could tell that she had an extremely unhealthy relationship with Nigel and always thought that women were out to trap her son and take him away from her. Her husband, my father-in-law, Luke, was not like her. He was a sweet man who still has an excellent relationship with me. He considers me his daughter, which is why I was super pissed when I discovered Rita's big betrayal. Now, let me just tell you what Rita tried to do when Nigel announced our engagement. She tried to say that I was a cheater and was sleeping with my best friend. It was bizarre and she had no proof. It was simply based on her suspicions. Look, me and my male best friend have been super close since childhood. We have a great bond, but we don't cross boundaries that our spouses have set for us. In fact, we do frequent double dates and even went on trips together. Nigel never had a problem and knew that I was loyal. Well, Rita didn't think so. She said, "A man and a woman cannot be that close, Nigel. There has to be something fishy going on. I can bet all my money that she is cheating on you." Mom, you are being ridiculous. Mia and her best friend are just that, best friends. There is no cheating going on. She rarely meets with him alone. I trust my fiancé completely. You are naive, Nigel. Mia is trapping you because you have a good income and can take care of her. One of these days you might find yourself baby trapped by this cheater. I don't know what you're talking about, Rita. None of that will happen. I love your son, and my best friend is just my best friend. Nothing is going on between us. You are being insulting when you say those things. I know you are lying, Mia. Don't try that innocent act with me. I know girls like you very well. Of course, Rita knew girls like that. She was one of them. But that wouldn't be discovered until later. Nigel didn't believe her ridiculous lies and we got married anyway. She tried to tell everyone that he was marrying a cheater. There was some misunderstanding I had with a few family members, but when Nigel told them the truth, they were rightfully pissed at Rita and apologized to me. Nigel also confronted Rita and yelled at her along with his father. Rita wasn't remorseful at all, but she promised to behave from then on. Guys, I really thought that Rita would change and end her stupid antics, but she didn't. What she did the next time was even worse. The beginning of Rita's end started when I got pregnant with our first child. It was a boy and everyone was happy for us. Nigel was super excited to be a father and Luke was excited to be a grandfather. The only one who wasn't excited at all was my mother-in-law, Rita. She started her Mia is cheating craziness and went as far as to say that the child was not Nigel's. We were all pissed and Nigel mostly kept me out of the drama so that I don't stress out too much. Now, here comes the fun part. As soon as my son was born, Rita saw him and said, "This child can't be my son's. He looks nothing like what Nigel looked when he was a baby. This cannot be your son, Nigel." Mom, what is wrong with you? This is my son. Not all babies look exactly like the baby version of their dads. Or, Mom, I didn't look like my dad's baby version either. You are being ridiculous. Nigel, you need to open your eyes. This child is too white to be yours. We are all too tan to have this skin. What the hell are you talking about, Rita? You are being ridiculous. The baby had a lighter skin tone because I am very fair. Plus, baby's skin color can get darker once they start to grow. At least, have some logic when you try to accuse me. We had a long and big fight with Rita about this issue. Ultimately, Nigel kicked her out of the hospital and was mad at her. Well, Rita went out and immediately started to tell everyone what she saw and that she was sure the child wasn't Nigel's. Some people were having doubts since we didn't want the baby around everyone before he was a month old. There was a lot of pressure from Rita and people's gossip that was bothering us. Ultimately, I succumbed and agreed to get a DNA test done. Nigel did try to shut me down. He said, "Mia, you don't have to agree to this. I trust you completely. I know that our son is mine. Mom can go kick rocks." Nigel, please, I'm tired of hearing Rita call me names and people assume things about me. This drama has been going on for too long. I have nothing to hide, so I might just as well get over this. Mia, Nigel, I think I need to tell you guys something. What's up, Dad? I don't know how to say this, but Nigel, you might not be my biological son. Luke was at our house when we were having this conversation. He suddenly turned serious when he said this. We noticed that he had been acting a little off for some time, so we were immediately alert, but we never expected him to say this. We were shocked, but Nigel was more than me. He said, "Dad, what are you talking about?" Look, I went to a doctor recently and some things he said made me doubt that I am your biological father. Are you serious right now? Oh my God, are you sure there is a possibility? There is a big possibility, Nigel, and I think it's time we found out for sure. Mia, keep this a secret from Rita. Let's get me and Nigel tested as well. I want to confront her when the results are out. She is planning to host a family dinner when the DNA reports of Nigel and my grandson arrive. Honestly, I didn't know what to say. I agreed since we all thought this was a good plan. I took the responsibility since Nigel and Luke were way too stressed to manage this. The DNA test was done, and as promised, Rita threw a family dinner to announce the results in front of everyone. She really wanted to humiliate me, but in her excitement, she picked up the wrong envelope before announcing the results. Nigel, me, and Luke noticed, and it didn't say anything. Imagine our faces when Rita screamed with joy and said, "I was right! They are not a match. My son is not the father of Mia's son. Mia is a cheater." Rita was jumping up and down with joy when the results showed that the people who tested were not a match. This essentially said that there was no freaking connection between the two people who got tested. Rita was extremely delighted by the results because she thought that my husband wasn't my son's father. She saw it as an opportunity to get me kicked out of Nigel's life. That's why she was dancing with joy and screaming to everyone that my husband wasn't the father of my child. But I didn't bat an eye at her reaction. Meanwhile, Luke and Nigel went pale and were shaking with anger. Rita thought that they were mad at me and said, "See, I told you guys that Mia is a freaking cheater. Do you see this? Nigel is not the father of her child. That is not my grandson. That is some stranger's spawn that Mia is trying to pass off as yours, Nigel. Oh, my poor boy, Nigel. I tried to warn you, but none of you listened to me." Rita, before declaring the results of the DNA test to the public here, you should have checked them in private once. Now, why would I do that, Mia? Everyone here needs to know what a cheater you are. Do you think I would be gracious enough to try and save face? You don't deserve that. You deserve to be kicked out of our lives for being such a cheater. When Rita said this, it was Nigel who cracked first. I could tell that he was exceptionally mad and ready to ruin everything. I understood his reaction because I knew he was feeling betrayed, so I didn't stop his outburst. He said, "Stop it, Mom. Just stop. Mia isn't going anywhere. She is my freaking wife who I love and trust with my own life. She is the freaking mother of my child." Nigel, what the hell are you saying? These results clearly show that the child is not yours. Mia has cheated on you and is trying to baby trap you. Here, you can check for yourself. No, I don't need to check anything. You need to recheck the results more carefully and then talk. You shouldn't have made us take a DNA test in the first place. Now, look at what you have done. Nigel, I understand that you are sad and in shock. This probably doesn't feel real to you, but it's the truth, son. Your wife is a cheater. She is making you raise another man's child. Now, this was the moment when Luke thundered and decided to speak. He was too frozen in shock and too angry to form his words. After the initial shock wore out, he was ready to raise a storm. He yelled at Rita and said, "So, Mia is making Nigel raise someone else's child? Like you tried to pass off Nigel as my son years ago?" "Luke, What are you talking about, dear? Nigel is your son. I am not like this cheap woman, Mia, who opens her legs for everyone. Why are you making such accusations? I have revealed the truth and now everyone is attacking me because of Mia. Why don't you recheck the report carefully, Rita? That will give you a better understanding of what we are talking about. Here, these are the DNA tests done between Nigel and our son. As you all can see, it says that they are father and son. What? Then why does this document say that they are not related? What is going on? If you had read the report carefully, you would have found that the test was done for Nigel and Luke. And the report says that they are not related at all. So Nigel is not Luke's son at all. Rita looked at me with disbelief when I said that. She never expected this to happen to her. Her carefully guarded secret of 25 years was finally loose and she couldn't do anything to stop it from spreading. Rita had made the huge mistake of calling family members to expose my supposed secret, but it backfired badly when her own secret was revealed instead. Luke and Nigel were pissed, and Rita didn't miss that either. She knew that she was in big trouble. She kept reading the report in her hand again and again. She looked at it and all of us were in disbelief. She said, No, this can't be true. This has to be a mistake. Nigel is Luke's child. I am sure of it. We were trying for a child when I got pregnant with Nigel. Nigel is your child, Luke. Oh, really, Rita? So you were saying that the reports are false and you didn't cheat on me at all? Nigel is your son, Luke. You have to believe me. This witch, Mia, has tricked you into getting a paternity test so that she can mess up your report and get revenge against me. This wasn't just Mia's plan, Rita. It was mine as well. Remember how I visited a doctor recently to run a couple of tests? Yeah, the test came back and it showed that I have been infertile my entire life. I never knew because I never went to see a doctor before. There is no way Nigel is my son. No, this can't be happening. This can't be true. This can't be true. I even have a hunch who Nigel's biological father is. Is it Fred? I know it's Fred, your ex before you married me. Rita turned as white as a ghost when she heard that. Her reaction alone gave us the confirmation we needed. Nigel was super quiet and not saying much, just giving Rita some angry looks from time to time. I knew that he was crushed by the betrayal and scared for a different reason. Everyone around us felt the same sense of betrayal that Luke and Nigel felt. Everyone looked at Rita in disbelief and anger. Her own mother looked like she was about to faint. None of the people there knew about her affair or the fact that Nigel was not Luke's son. It was a disaster for Rita. She started to cry when Luke said, "You don't even have to tell me, Rita. Your reaction alone says that it was indeed Fred who you cheated on me with. Doesn't matter, actually. Any love I had for you is already gone. I have been suspecting this for a while. Now that the truth is out, I don't want to spend another moment with you. I want a divorce." Luke, what are you even saying? What happened was a long time ago. I cut off Fred as soon as I was pregnant with Nigel. I swear he doesn't even know about Nigel. You are Nigel's father through and through. You are the father of my son, Luke. That I am, Rita. I raised that man for 25 years. I don't care what the DNA tests say. Nigel is my son. He will always be my son. He might not be my miracle, but he is my blessing. I will be his father till the day I die. Luke's declaration was just what Nigel needed to dispel his fears. My poor husband was worried that he would lose the only father he knew in his life. When Luke assured him of his stance, Nigel burst into tears. I was comforting my poor husband while Luke and the others dealt with Rita. Rita said, "You were right, Luke. You raised my son for 25 years. He is yours. We can just forget that the DNA test exists. Things can go back to normal. We can... No, just no, Rita. Things will never go back to normal. Every time I look at you, I will be reminded of your betrayal. Nigel might be my son, but you are no wife of mine. A woman who cheats on her own husband cannot be my wife. I am going to divorce you. That's final. No, Luke, you can't do this. You can't do this. We have been married for 30 years. You can't leave me over this. Luke! Rita was in pure shock and refused to understand what she was being told. The people around, including her own family, were throwing insults at Rita and agreeing with Luke's decision. Rita was still crying and desperately asking for forgiveness. She then decided to plead with Nigel and said, Nigel, look at what Luke is saying. He's going to leave me. Please don't make him leave me. Please make him understand, son. Don't you dare call me son. I don't want to call you mother anymore. You are the most vile woman I have ever known in my life. You hid my parentage. You dragged my wife through dirt for nothing when you were the one hiding the nasty secret. I can't even look at you now. No, Nigel, I am your mother. That is true, I swear. I gave birth to you. I am sorry, son. I am so sorry for everything. Please don't hate me. I made a mistake. Mia, please, you are a woman. You understand what I am going through right now. Please make them understand. Now, that is something I never expected to happen. Rita was so desperate that she started to beg me for help. She was pathetic and disgusting. She expected me to smile and ignore her sins just because I was a woman. How the hell did she think I would be on her side? I literally wanted her to burn in hell and suffer on earth. Oh, hell no, Rita. You dug your own grave. You were the one convincing Nigel to divorce me, saying that my son isn't hers. Now that it's true for you, how did you expect I will support you? You targeted me and my innocent son for nothing. You betrayed my husband and my father-in-law for 3 decades. You don't deserve anyone's forgiveness. I agree with Luke. He needs to divorce you. It was a mistake, Mia. You are an honest woman, and I know you really care about your family. Your new family is about to be broken, Mia. Please don't let it happen. My new family includes me, my son, Nigel, and Luke. You are not my family, Rita. A woman who treated me so badly and betrayed her own family so badly cannot be my family. I don't want you around me or my son again. The rest is for Nigel to decide. I don't want you anywhere near me too, Rita. Stay the hell away from me and my family. Dad is doing the right thing by divorcing you. You deserve that. And that is what you wanted, right? You wanted to prove that a son doesn't belong to his father. You wanted the father to divorce his wife. That's what's happening now, Rita. Unfortunately for you, it's happening to your family. Rita looked like she had been doused in ice water. Nigel was a warm and loving person. No one, not even me, ever saw this side of him. He was super mad, but also extremely cold. He didn't shout or yell at Rita like the others. He remained calm and talked in the coldest voice I have ever heard. At that point, everyone knew he meant what he was saying. He would literally never contact Rita again. Rita sank to the floor while not making any eye contact. All the family members were berating her and calling her horrible names. I didn't feel bad for her. Instead, it made me super happy. Luke also informed her that she needed to be out of his house soon. It was Luke's house since he inherited it from his father before his marriage. Also, we live in an at-fault state, so it would be likely that Luke would sue Rita for paternity fraud and escape from giving her alimony. Rita was now seriously in a big mess. Days passed and Luke stuck to his word. He actually went straight to a divorce lawyer the next day. He also formally started an eviction process against Rita. She threw a big tantrum complete with crying, begging, and even yelling. Luke wasn't going to go soft on her anymore. He wanted her out of his life as soon as possible. Rita also blew up my and Nigel's phones with texts and calls. It was mostly her begging and making ridiculous excuses for what she did. We read only a few and blocked her after that. Rita then showed up at our house to cry to us. She said, "Luke is kicking me out, guys. I have nowhere to go. I only have very little money that I need to get a divorce lawyer. I need a place to stay." "You can go anywhere you want, Rita. We won't be the ones housing you. Plus, we already told you that we want nothing to do with you." "I am your mom, Nigel. Why are you calling me by my name? I am your mother." Now, this pissed me off a lot. Look, I was glad that Rita was getting her just dessert and I won against her, but this entire paternity fiasco was very hard on both Nigel and Luke. While Luke was dealing with it his way, Nigel was a mess. It hurt to see my poor husband cry and lose himself in sadness. I was having a hard time consoling and comforting him while dealing with a newborn. So when Rita wanted to act like it was all no big deal, I was pissed. I said, "I believe you have already lost that privilege, Rita. From now on, you are just a stranger to us. And Nigel is right. We won't be the ones housing you." "Mia, please don't do this to me. My grandson needs his grandma in his life." "Don't you dare call my son your grandson. Your own son refused to call you mom. And you can't be a grandma to the child you never wanted in your life. Don't try and use my innocent child to guilt us. It won't work." "We have had enough of your bullshit, Rita. It's time for you to leave. Don't bother showing up again because I will call the cops on you. Trust me when I say you don't want more legal trouble after this." Rita did some more crying and pleading before Nigel shut the door in her face. It was satisfying to see Rita's suffering, since she messed up so many lives because of her poor choices. We went back inside and waited for Rita to leave. She did leave when she realized that we wouldn't budge. After that, Rita kind of stayed away until it was time for her to leave Luke's house. She showed up with her stuff again to try and beg us or guilt us into letting her in. Nothing worked, and she left when we threatened to call the cops again. I had heard that she was staying with a friend who got her a job in her office as a warehouse worker. Now, the divorce battle was kind of ugly since Rita tried her best to get things in her favor. But like I said, we live in an at-fault state, so her stupid excuses didn't do her any good. They got divorced in 6 months and parted ways soon. She did keep harassing Luke to get her old life back, but it didn't work. She is now miserable, working in a warehouse and earning only the bare minimum. She has been cut off from the entire family, and no one has taken her side. She doesn't even get invites to attend parties and family gatherings anymore. Nigel and Luke are doing much better after joining therapy. It's good to see them still hold that strong bond despite the DNA report. We still have weekly family dinners and Luke comes over frequently to spend time with his grandson. Overall, we have managed to swing back to our normal lives while Rita is rotting in some warehouse, lonely and miserable. I'm Riley, and I was crushed when I found out that the man I married was a freaking cheater. Jim and I were together for 8 years before we got married. We were your classic high school sweethearts who had seemingly made it to the finish line. But we didn't live happily ever after. One day, quite randomly, I found out that Jim was cheating. It was an employee of his who contacted me. My husband was actually a decent businessman in a small city. You may or may not recognize me, so I did use fake names. I'm Riley, and you will also know more about my husband Jim and mother-in-law Tina. So Jim's employee reached out to me with proof that my husband was cheating. I was in denial for a week, but guess who snapped me out of my denial? My husband, Jim. He came home and said, "I want a divorce. I'll be filing soon, but I already made the decision. I thought you should know. I don't want to be with you anymore." What? Why, Jim? I don't understand. There has to be a reason for this. Well, I just don't love you anymore. So it is true. You are having an affair. Jim's face went white when I said that. He didn't expect me to find out. I don't know why. I don't know if he had actually thought that he could get away with whatever poor excuse he could find for the divorce. When I revealed that I knew about his affair, he looked shocked and a little angry. He said, "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not in love with you anymore, so we are divorcing. We will split amicably and keep what's ours." You think I will let you walk away without consequences? I know about your affair, and I have enough proof. I don't care if you leave me for someone else. I already wasted years for you. I am not doing that anymore, but I will go after your assets, as the prenup states. Let's not make things difficult, Riley. We don't have to strictly follow the prenup. We can sort this out between ourselves. I knew why he was so against me bringing up the affair. You see, me and Jim had a prenup in place. It was done in his insistence. He wanted to protect himself in case of a divorce and didn't want me to cheat and get away with it. I was fine with it because I wasn't going to cheat anyway, and the prenup terms looked fair. Now, Jim hadn't realized that he would one day end up being the one to cheat. He found himself in a tough position because he really did want to marry his mistress. I looked her up, and I'm not kidding you when I say that she looks like a supermodel. Good for Jim, I guess. Anyway, the affair slowly took away all the feelings I had for Jim. I was now filled with the rage instead of being heartbroken. Jim wanted to screw me over and take away what is rightfully mine. I wasn't going to let that happen. I said, "Let me be clear about one thing, Jim. I am going to get what is rightfully mine. I know you don't want to talk about your affair because of the prenup. Sadly for you, I already have a mountain of evidence against you. Damn you, Riley, why can't you just leave me alone? Just let us split amicably." You are the one who insisted on the prenup, Jim. You can't fault me for trying to uphold it. Besides, why would I let go of the opportunity to take your money? Say what you say, Jim. I will uphold the prenup and bring up your affair. This won't end well for you, Riley. Let me be clear about that. I will find a way to make things even. I won't let you take away my money. Jim's threat loomed in the air even after he left the house. I was already on the verge of tears and broke down when he left, presumably to be with his mistress. I cried from anger and sadness. I didn't know how I chose such a wrong man for me. I wasted years of my life loving the wrong man. But I wasn't going to sit back and let him do what he wanted. I wanted to take matters into my own hands, so I immediately called Tina, my mother-in-law, who is one of the closest people I have. I know many of you have really horrible mother-in-laws, but my one is just a gem of a woman. Tina is super wealthy like her son, but his exact opposite. Tina was a woman of morals and treated everyone with love and respect. She was very confused as to why we were divorcing. I chose not to tell her everything because I was afraid she would side with Jim. I do have some childhood trauma from my parents abandoning me, so I was scared I would lose Tina as well. Tina did her best to convince both of us to reconcile because she didn't know what went wrong. Eventually, I moved out of Jim's house and got my own apartment. Tina was sad but more angry at Jim because he was the one who initiated the divorce. Jim probably thought that once he told his mom everything, she would side with him. He was her son after all. To be honest, I was scared of that happening too. I really loved Tina and didn't want to lose her. But she did the exact opposite. One day she called me in a panic and told me that she wanted to come over. She looked really glum and said, "Riley, I need to talk to you in person. There's something I found out about Jim. I wanted to come and tell you." "Is this about Jim cheating on me, Tina?" "Wait, you already know about that? I didn't know a thing." "It's been happening for over 6 months now, Tina. I got proof. One of his employees told me about it and sent me pictures as well. I found out more later. It doesn't matter anymore, though." "Oh, God, Riley. I just found everything out yesterday. Jim came to me and confessed. I had no idea you two were getting a divorce. I'm so sorry. Riley, I failed to raise my son right. I feel awful. I am a horrible mother." Tina started to cry, and I actually felt very bad for her. None of this was her fault. She was a good mother and an awesome mother-in-law. Tina had become my family, and she was almost a mother to me too. I started to cry with her when I realized that I was about to lose her in the divorce as well. But what happened next dispelled my fears. I said, "Tina, please don't blame yourself. You have been nothing but kind to me. None of this is your fault. You are a good mother, Tina." No, you don't understand. There is more. I'm ashamed to even tell you about this. You will definitely judge me and my family when I tell you. I don't think I will ever do that, Tina. Whatever Jim does is not on you. If there is anything more you want to share, you can tell me. Riley, my son has gone crazy. He has made an entire plan to trap you and get you arrested. What the hell? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Jim was trying to get me arrested? And he planned to do that by trapping me? This was straight out of a horror movie for me. Had I failed to recognize the true Jim when I fell in love with him? Had I messed up that bad? What Tina said only made my fears worse. She said, "Jim is planning to hide some of his cash in your new place and then call the cops on you. He says that in this way, he would avoid losing his money and assets to you. Your prenup has a clause that states the prenup is void if both parties are found to be at fault. So that's why he has made this plan. He told you everything because he thought you wouldn't divulge his secret. I don't know how delusional he can be. Why in the world did he think I would support him, Riley? I'm on your side. What my son did and is trying to do is awful. I am so ashamed. I am so sorry." "Tina, you don't have to be sorry. Thank you so much for coming to me. See, you told me everything despite him being your son. You truly are a good person. I don't want to lose you after the divorce. You were like a mother to me." "There is no way you are getting rid of me, Riley. You are like a daughter to me too. Jim can go kick rocks. I don't want to see you get trapped in his evil schemes. Please tell me you will protect yourself." "Don't worry, Tina. I'm not someone to be messed with. Now that I know what Jim is planning to do, I will trap him in his own plan." I told Tina my plan, and she looked really satisfied with what I had in mind. I had a small fear that she would object to it to protect her son, but to my surprise, she said that it was fitting. So with my sweet mother-in-law's approval, I got on with my plan. But first, I needed to do some shopping. I ordered some cameras online so that I could establish CCTV surveillance in my room. My building already had CCTV coverage on the stairwell, so I only needed to cover the rooms. I took the help of a friend and set up the cameras around the apartment. Then I waited for Jim to make his appearance, and he didn't disappoint. Jim randomly showed up one day to discuss the divorce. It almost made me laugh at how ridiculous the excuse was, but I humored him and pretended to believe him. Then, when I went into the kitchen, I saw him walk towards my study and discreetly put something inside my desk drawer. I smiled to myself and didn't bother confronting him. I wanted him to think that I didn't know what he was doing. In reality, my cameras would receive everything. That was how I planned to trap him. Jim talked about the divorce for like 10 minutes before he bolted. Good riddance, because his mere presence was irritating me to no end. After he left, I checked the camera footage to see if Jim had planted the cash on my work desk. I didn't want to check in person because I wanted to maintain to the cops that I didn't know about the money. So I checked on my phone. Well, Tina was right. Jim did hide his cash in my work desk. I was freaking furious. I thanked heavens that I had an amazing mother-in-law like Tina who warned me about Jim. If she had kept quiet, I wouldn't have had any proof of my innocence. I quietly saved the footage and then waited for Jim's next move. By the end of the next day, the cops were at my door with Jim. I said, "Hello, officers and Jim. This is a surprise. How can I help you today?" "This gentleman here has reason to think that you have stolen his money. I understand that you two are husband and wife." "That's right, officer. We are husband and wife, but we are in the process of filing for divorce." "Okay, I understand. So your husband has been missing about $20,000 in cash. He says that you had taken his money without permission when you left his house a week back." "I don't know what you're talking about, officer. I didn't take any cash at all. I am not someone who steals money like that." It was true. I hate stealing and wouldn't do that under any circumstances. The cops looked like they didn't want to act in haste and listen to all parties involved. Jim didn't like that at all. He immediately jumped in and said, "Officer, she's lying. I'm sure she is the one who stole my money. She always did that when we were married. That's one of the reasons why I'm divorcing her." "Why are you lying to the officers, Jim? You know damn well I wouldn't do anything like that." "You don't have to act so innocent, Riley. I know for a fact that you stole my money. It was with me in my secret drawer until last week. No one has been in my house after that." "Well, ma'am, do you happen to know something about where the money might be?" Jim looked at me like he was confident I would get arrested. He was sure that he had hidden the money well and the cops would arrest me on his accusations. He also thought that I was a clueless woman who didn't know what he had planned. Well, he was in for a big surprise. I said to the cops, "Officers, I will show you where the money is and who moved it there. It won't take a long time. I have concrete proof of it as well." "Okay, ma'am. If you do have proof, we would love to see it. We don't want to arrest you for nothing." "She is lying, officer. She stole my money because I'm divorcing her. She's just trying to get away with it by lying. I think you should arrest her right now." "We will do what we think is fit, sir. Since ma'am here has already offered to prove herself innocent, I have to investigate before arresting her." Jim looked kind of nervous for a second before shutting his mouth and going back to being angry. To be honest, the officers didn't look very thrilled with his rudeness and insistence on getting me arrested. I took the cops to my work desk and showed them where the cash was. Immediately, Jim's face lit up and he smirked at me. He jumped at this chance to finally throw me in jail. He excitedly said, "Did you see that, officers? She had my money hidden right in her closet. She is so sure of getting away that she doesn't even bother to hide it. You need to arrest her. That's all the proof you will need, officers." "Yes, your money is in my closet, but I am not the one who put it here. Officers, I must inform you that I have cameras everywhere in the house. I live here alone, so I didn't require permission from anyone. I can show you who put the money in my closet. If it was me, you would see me in the CCTVs as well." "What? You have cameras in the house? Well, we don't need to see any videos. The money was found in your closet, and that's proof enough to prove your guilt. We don't need more proof." "I think we can speak for ourselves, sir. You need to let us do our job instead of telling us what to do. Ma'am, you can show us the camera footage if you will." "Sure, have a look. I don't have any problem showing you what happened to the money and how it ended up here." I pulled out my phone and showed the cops a video of what happened last night. I didn't have to worry about personal videos because I changed in my closet or the bathroom. When I presented my phone to the cops, Jim seemed to be in a panic mode. He didn't know what kind of footage I had, but he knew that I wasn't lying about the cameras. When the cops were done seeing the camera footage, they said, "All right, sir. We've seen all the footage and saw you put yours in her closet. Looks like you planted the money here to get your wife arrested, sir." "What are you talking about, officers? I'm sure there must be a mistake. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do anything. She's the one who stole money from me." "Sir, do you realize that we can arrest you for calling us unnecessarily? And your wife here can definitely file a police report for harassment and defamation as well." Jim suddenly started to look scared. He started to spew nonsense about why the video showed him sneaking into my room, hiding money in my closet. He stammered and his hands were shaking. He tried to convince the cops that it was a mistake and so on. The cops were just not having it. After listening to Jim's nonsense for a while, they turned to me and said, "Ma'am, do you want to press charges against your husband?" "Now, officers, we don't have to do anything like that. It was a small misunderstanding. We can solve it between ourselves. There's no need for any police report or something." "I think we'll let your wife decide that, sir. It falls within her legal right to sue you and get you arrested right now." Jim then turned to look at me with fear and anxiety in his eyes. I could tell that he understood how badly he had messed up. In his hurry to frame me as a thief for an easy divorce, he had fallen into his own trap. Now he didn't know what to do except to beg me for mercy. He said, "Riley, we don't have to do this. We can solve this between ourselves. There's no reason to get the cops involved." "Why not, Jim? You involved the cops in the first place even when you had no reason to. I have a pretty good reason to get you arrested. You tried to ruin my reputation by accusing me of theft." "It was a dumb and stupid mistake, Riley. I swear I wasn't going to land you in serious trouble. I just wanted to get even in the divorce so that you cannot keep the prenup." "Oh, trust me, Jim. I already knew that. I can't believe that you would stoop so low. I hope your new girl is freaking worth it because, dear husband, you are getting arrested." Jim looked shocked and the color drained from his face. I told the cops I would love to press charges against my husband. They were happy with my decision and handcuffed him on the spot. This is when Jim's tears began. He started to cry and beg for mercy. It was actually pretty pathetic and disgusting to watch. I knew that this was what he tried to do to me. Any pity or sympathy I had for him was long gone after discovering his affair. So his tears or apologies meant nothing to me anymore. The cops took him away while I sighed with relief. After the cops dragged Jim away, I immediately called Tina and told her what went down. She wasn't shocked, of course, but I had to warn her of the consequences as well. I said, "Tina, he will get bail and won't have much trouble, but I guess he will turn to you to vent. I'm afraid there is a chance he might suspect your involvement in this." "Well, I'm prepared for that. If he dares to show his face in my house, I will tell him what I really think of him, and I will tell him that I was the one who informed you of his plan." "Are you sure about that, Tina? Jim will be super mad at you. He might stop talking to you and take this very personally." "In that case, good for me. I don't want any connection with him anyway. I am so done with Jim. If he gets mad at me for doing something good, that's on him. Besides, his behavior has me questioning a few things, and I think I will change my will." "What are you planning to do, Tina?" "I think I will disinherit him. I don't want a homewrecker to lay hands on my money, and I cannot forget the fact that my son is a freaking criminal. I will never forgive him for betraying you and trying to ruin your life." I do thank the heavens that I got Tina as my mother-in-law. I can't tell you how much I cried after hearing Tina say that. It felt nice knowing that someone in this world would stand up for me. Tina comforted me for some time and promised to take me on a trip with her once the divorce was finalized. You may wonder what came out of Jim's arrest. Well, nothing came out of it. I didn't sue him. Instead, I held it over his head and quickly got a divorce. Because of his arrest and affair, the prenup was upheld and I got over 70% of our assets. He lost quite a good amount of money and also paid my lawyer's fees as stated in the prenup. At the end of the divorce, Jim was severely traumatized by his own schemes and plans. Jim also ended his relationship with his affair partner after she yelled at him for losing money to me. I knew that the woman was only after Jim for his money, but Jim was stupid enough to think that she was in love with him. His relationship soured quickly and added to my revenge, although this wasn't intentional. Tina and Jim are no longer on speaking terms. They see each other at family events and still don't talk. After the news of our divorce, affair, and arrest came out, Jim actually lost a good bit of family members as well. They found his behavior atrocious and immediately proceeded to cut him off. He is still being constantly criticized long after our divorce was already over. Tina and Jim had a huge argument where she told him that she was disowning him. Jim was not happy, of course. He had lost his mom, wife, and mistress in a matter of months. Now he's all alone, trying to rebuild his savings and his reputation. Now, let me tell you about me. I'm probably at the best freaking stage in my life. The divorce made me even richer than before. As Tina had promised, we took a trip together for a week in Hawaii. We had a great time bonding even better. It's been a year since my divorce and we actually had a trip planned next month to Spain. I haven't started dating again yet because of some mental health problems that I'm seeing a therapist for it. Life is good and I'm taking time to relax and learn to be on my own again. Hello guys, I'm Nikki. I will tell you the story of how I got even with my mother-in-law and taught her a good lesson. My husband Leo and I are not very rich, but we are fairly upper class. His father has been deceased long back and left a fortune behind. Sadly, his stupid spendthrift mother, Regina, kept making ridiculous financial decisions and slowly wasted away the money his dad had left. Let me tell you a little about Regina. She was a housewife with a great distaste for women who worked. She has that horrible princess mentality and depends on others for financial help. This woman absolutely despised me because I was a working woman. She always demeaned me and called me names because I worked. Leo and I tried to put her in her place, but she would never stop. Eventually, I just gave up, but I never forgot. The part of my life I am about to tell you happened when I got a second job. You see, I was earning well at first but needed money for something. I always had a dream of independently owning a house since I grew up poor. That's why, when my husband bought a house with his money, I also started to plan for mine as well. Leo was very supportive because he knew it was my dream. But Regina had a lot of nasty things to say. She said, "I hear that you have taken up a second job, Nikki. How sad for you. It must be hard being poor." Well, I'm not exactly poor, Regina. I'm doing okay. The second job is for other expenses I have been planning to buy. Oh dear, it's okay to not have tons of money, Nikki. You don't have to lie about it. I understand that not everyone has the luxury of being carefree like me. Mom, you are taking things too far. Nikki is not wanting for money, which I cannot say for you, though. You have been spending money like it's endless. You need to be careful or else you will land in trouble again. Oh God, Leo, you don't have to worry about that. I have enough money to pay for the stuff I do. It won't be a problem. You should concentrate on your wife since she is the one slaving her life away. After Regina said this, Leo's face told her everything she needed to know. It was time for her to shut up. I didn't bother yelling at her because I knew she wouldn't change. Besides, I didn't want to stoop to her level just yet. There would be a better time. Regina was a dumb woman who didn't know how to deal with the consequences of her actions. I say this because she comes back at our door 1 year later to complain and cry about her debt. She said, "I don't know how it got so bad. I had so much money, I didn't think it would make such a big difference." Yes, you did have money, but it wasn't endless. Regina, had you worked a job, you would have received more money every month. Oh, shut up, Nikki. I don't need to hear the job nonsense from you. I haven't worked all my life, and I am not planning to start any time soon. I am above that. There it was again, my mother-in-law's flat-out refusal to work. This woman was truly delusional. I had no idea how she was going to get out of her mess. I saw the numbers, and it was a lot. Regina was in a very bad financial situation, and she still wasn't going to change. Oh, this didn't mean that she forgot to insult me again. Sometimes I feel like I am her mortal enemy. I chose not to grace her with a reply, but Leo was simply not having it. He said, "Why are you yelling at my wife, Mom? What she said is absolutely right. If you had a job, you wouldn't be in this place. Leo's son, I can't work. I'm an old woman. You want your mother to waste her life struggling at a low-paying job? Just imagine how sad that would be." Look, I know you have aged, but you can still join work. I don't want to see you struggling, but I also can't pay you. You have a lot of debt, Mom. I had warned you about it. But I really need the money, Leo. I know I should have listened to you, but what's done is done. Like I said, I cannot help you, Mom. I have just bought this house and I'm still paying the mortgage. I don't have much to give you. Besides, you cannot depend on me every time you run into debt. I have a family now. Regina did not like that at all. She had expected Leo to step up and pull her out of debt like always. But Leo wasn't that stupid anymore. He had run the numbers and seen that he had lost a lot of money paying off Regina's debts. He wasn't going to do that again. Besides, with the mortgage and down payment on the house, he literally didn't have much left. He wasn't going to jeopardize his credit even further by making stupid decisions like helping out Regina. Regina was panicking. She said, "If you don't help me, who will, Leo? I don't know what to do." "Well, there's just one option left. You need to sell the house." "What the hell, Leo? I'm not selling my house. It is your childhood home and has my treasured memories too. I would never be able to afford a house like that again." So, it's not about the memories after all. You simply don't want to sell the house because it is a beautiful place that you definitely cannot afford to buy in the future. Too bad you don't have any other option. This is the only way. Regina was super sad, but knew that she didn't have an option. Even Leo was upset that it had come to this point. It was then that I thought how amazing it would be if I really ended up buying her house. I mean, it was Leo's childhood home and he didn't want to let it go. He also couldn't pay for it because he had recently bought a house. If there was anyone who could buy it, that would be me. I wanted to make that purchase. It was indeed a very beautiful house and just in my budget. After Regina left, I talked it over with Leo. He was actually happy that I wanted to get the house. I made my decision and told Leo not to tell his mom. He agreed because he knew there was no way his mom would get a better offer. She wasn't keen on advertising the house because she didn't want to ruin her status. So she was doing it discreetly through an agent. When Regina finally contacted an agent, I went ahead with my plan. I had texted Regina's agent after the very first insult she had thrown at me. My agent contacted her and the deal was finalized. I was happy, but so was Regina. But my happiness would be long-lasting while hers wouldn't last more than a day. Do you know how I knew Regina was happy? Well, I got an invite from her to a party at her house. You would think Regina would wise up and start planning her finances better. She's not like that. Once she had the money in her account, she immediately went to host a party. She came by the house when Leo wasn't around and said, "Hello, Nikki. I'm glad I could catch you at home. I was half expecting you to be out working a third job on holidays." Very funny, Regina. As you can see, I don't need a third job yet. Tell me what you want. It's such a shame you insist on slaving away your life. I guess not everyone can be as lucky as me. Anyway, since I don't need to slave away my hours, I have plenty of time available to host a party. There is one tomorrow. You are invited. I was a little stunned to hear that she was hosting a party. This woman was literally drowning in debt and had to sell her house. When will she learn to handle her expenses better? I was very confused and annoyed. I said, "Wow, what's the occasion, Regina? That was a very out-of-the-blue invitation." "I don't need an occasion to plan a party, Nikki. I have a lot of spare money at the moment, and what's a better way to utilize money than to host a party?" "I see. So there is a party just because you have the money to spare? Good for you." "Honey, I don't have to work to earn, remember? So I have the means to host a party without any occasion or excuse. I hope you can take the day off and join the party. Maybe I will pay you the day's wages if you can't make it." "Thanks for the super generous offer, Regina, but I won't be requiring it. I'm perfectly capable of taking a day off without it hurting my finances." My blood was boiling at the way Regina talked to me. She always had a habit of humiliating me, but this was stretching it too far. On one hand, I was getting pissed off at her for troubling us with her financial problems. On the other hand, I was fuming at her superior attitude and the way she constantly demeaned me, even in a short conversation. But I calmed myself down, knowing that I had some great ammo to use against her. The party was actually a great place where I could get my just revenge against Regina. There was no way I would miss it. I took time off work and managed to join Regina's party. It was a grand kiddie party, so it was girls only. My husband stayed at home and I was feeling a little nervous because not all of Regina's friends are good people. Thankfully, there were also some women my age who were Leo's friends. They actually liked me and we hung out together on different occasions. The party was really set up with care and there were a ton of refreshments available. Regina had spent a lot on this party, which she clearly shouldn't have done due to her horrible finances. Anyway, I was having a good time and telling some people about my work when Regina suddenly joined us and said, "Why are you guys listening to Nikki harp on about her jobs? We don't bother with working slaves like her. I only invite her because she's my daughter-in-law. I doubt she would ever be able to reach my level in this lifetime." "I think you are being unnecessarily rude, Regina. A lot of women work and earn good money for themselves. I wanted to be independent and financially stable. That's why I am working so hard. Being a working woman doesn't make any woman less respectable." "A queen doesn't need to work, but peasants do. It's such a shame that my son ended up marrying a broke girl like you, Nikki. He should have married an heiress like me. That way, they would have had a great life without having to worry about money." "Oh, really, Regina? I wonder what heiress or queen has to sell her own house to make ends meet." "What? What are you talking about? I don't know what you're saying." "You don't know, Regina? How is that possible? Your agent said that he listed the house for you. Apparently you are so behind on credit card payments that the bank was about to repossess your house, so you sold it to make some profit off it. Everyone in the room was stunned. They had no idea that Regina was in such a dire situation. She never let anyone know because of shame and embarrassment. In high societies, degrading your lifestyle or selling your important assets means that you are becoming poor. That's why Regina's house was sold in secret, and she never told anyone about it. She was hosting these luxury parties from the proceeds of the sale. Now, the truth was out in the open. She was being judged by her so-called friends. I could see the judgment in their eyes. Over the years, I had found these judgmental states offensive, but today I found it extremely amusing. Regina was definitely not enjoying those looks. She herself looked a little anxious after being caught, but she straightened up and said, "What nonsense are you spewing, Nikki? This house is still mine. I am not a peasant like you. And who can't keep a roof over her head with one job? I am rich and don't need to sell my house for money." "Is that so, Regina? Then tell me something. How was I able to buy your house from your real estate agent?" "What? What are you talking about? You bought my house?" "Yes, Regina. Since it wasn't a public listing, not everyone knew about it, but I did. And well, this peasant just bought your house, Regina." Regina looked shocked. She had completely forgotten the party that moment. She looked at me dumbfounded and was shaking. She couldn't believe her ears. She couldn't believe that someone like me was now the owner of her precious house. She had tears in her eyes, but said, "No, no, no, that is impossible. You did not buy the house. You did not buy my freaking house." "Yes, I did, Regina. You signed the documents today. I guess you didn't even check the name of the new owner. Well, that was unfortunate, but yeah, I have your house under my name now." "I don't believe it. You cannot afford a house. You just can't." "Oh, you poor thing. You must be so confused. Well, I work 2 jobs like you keep saying. Trust me, I have a lot of money. But I can't say the same for you." "Well, one house is gone, but that's even better for me. Now I have more money. I did sell it for a handsome amount. Remember that you have a ton of credit card bills and need to repay the bank. You will hardly have anything left. When that money's gone, you won't be able to throw these lavish parties anymore. What a shame. Anyhow, even if you manage to get the money, you definitely wouldn't be hosting it here because I will be kicking you out soon." Regina absolutely turned pale when I said that. Yes, I had truly told her that I was going to kick her out. She hadn't seen this coming. I don't know what she was thinking, though. She hadn't exactly stopped to think what would happen when the new owners would finally take over the house. That was clear to me the last time we spoke. Anyway, the contract already stated that the previous owner would empty out the house in a month. She would be forced to adhere to that. Regina, however, was determined to stay. She said, "That will never happen. This is my house. I will not leave this place." "You have signed a contract, Regina. I can sue you if you don't move out by the date you had set in the contract." "I will talk to my son. He will not let you kick me out of my own house." "God, you keep forgetting, Regina. This is not your home. This is my home now. Although I might rent it out for some extra income. Guess it's time for the peasant to leave her second job and finally live like a queen." Regina looked horrified when I used her own words against her. She knew that I had everything planned out. I was adamant that she wouldn't be living in the house anymore. After I said that, the party was a mess. Some people left while others stayed back for the drama, but then I had had enough of my shameless mother-in-law. I gathered my things and simply left, reminding her again that her moving date was getting close. Regina was now crying while some of her friends were consoling her awkwardly. On my way back home, a friend of Leo's rode home with me. I needed to tell Leo what happened at the party and needed someone who would act as a witness. Anyway, I got home, talked to my husband, my friend explained what happened, and we got down to business. Surprisingly, my husband agreed with my decision. He was sick and tired of his mom being a rude and nasty mother-in-law. Leo was at the end of his wits, and he didn't want to deal with his stupid mother anymore. I should also add that Leo was pissed about Regina's awful spending habits. When he compared her to me, it was clear to him that Regina had no business insulting me. Plus, he knew that he needed to stand up for me and do something because his mom wasn't going to change. Overall, our conversation went very well. It was about 3 weeks later that Regina was at the house Leo and I were staying in. She looked like she hadn't slept in a while and her eyes were puffy. We let her in because we had been avoiding her calls for a while now. We needed to talk to her to set her straight. Leo looked glum, and I think that bothered Regina a lot. She said, "Leo, you know that your wife has bought my house. She is threatening to kick me out of my home. You need to do something." "What do you expect me to do, Mom? This is her property, so she is the only one who gets a say. Even if Nikki hadn't bought the home, someone else would have. And they definitely would have wanted you out. Had you even planned anything for that?" "Well, I was hoping that I could stay here with you guys." "And when did we discuss this, Mom? When did you tell me that you planned to stay here with us? Did I ever agree to that?" "I didn't tell you because I didn't have to. I'm your mother, so you will let me stay here. I know you won't turn your mother away when she's in trouble." "So you wanted to blackmail me and my wife to house you here for free? What about bills? Did you expect us to pay for that too?" "Of course you did. You have some nerve insulting my hard-working wife when all you do is plan to leech off people." Leo's tone and his words shocked Regina more than anything else that had happened so far. She hadn't expected her own son to turn against her so soon. She was literally shaking and started to cry. Her tears never bothered me before, but now it didn't bother Leo either. Regina said in a sad voice, "Leo, why are you speaking to me like that? What have I ever done to deserve this behavior from you?" "You don't know what you have done? Should I list it for you, Mom? First, you have always depended on me to solve the financial problems in your life that you had intentionally created. Then, you land yourself in a big debt again and end up selling your home. And the worst of them all, you constantly keep insulting my wife who has done nothing wrong to deserve your horrible behavior. Her only crime, according to you, was to be a hard-working woman." "Leo, I know I have been a nuisance, but what can I do? I'm a housewife and don't have any income." "That is entirely your fault, Mom. Your princess attitude never made you stop and think about earning money for yourself. You depended on everyone around you to pull you out of your mess. First it was Dad and then me. And don't think I didn't notice how you completely ignore the topic of insulting my wife. I believe Nikki deserves an apology from you." "What? You want me to apologize to Nikki?" Leo didn't say anything, but his look said everything that was necessary. Regina gulped hard and was fidgeting with her hands. The idea of apologizing to a mere peasant like me was humiliating for her. But she had no way to skip this part. She knew she was in trouble and didn't want to anger us anymore. She soberly said, "All right then, Nikki, I'm sorry for the way I treated you. I promise it won't happen again in the future." "Nice apology, Regina, but I reject it. It means nothing to me. I know that you have learned nothing." "Oh, come on, Leo. See, I apologize to your wife. It is not my fault that she's not accepting my apology. So when can I move in here?" "You are not moving here, Mom. This house is only for me and Nikki. You won't even be a guest here anymore. You lost that right." "Well then, can I stay at my house like I always had?" I laughed when Regina said that. She really expected me to just flip and pretend that everything was all right. She was so out of touch with reality that she didn't understand what consequences meant for people. I stopped laughing and said, "Oh, hell no, Regina. You will never stay at my house either. Like I said, I will be renting it out. I won't even keep you there as a tenant." But if you two don't house me, where will I go? I have nowhere else to go." "Well then, you better start looking for a job now. I bet 2 jobs will be enough to help you save money for rent and bills.
What? You want me to go to work?
How else do you think you can survive, Mom? Living in this world requires money, which you don't have. You heard my wife. You better start looking for jobs. I think we're done here. You can see yourself out. Regina was at a loss for words. She was crying and begging us not to do this to her. She was acting like getting a job would be the end of the world for her. I could understand a little. Regina never had a job in her whole life. At this age, with 0 experience, I had my doubts that she would land a good job. I wasn't being unrealistic when I said that she would need 2 jobs. The renting market here is crazy even today. Anyway, Regina kept crying, but we managed to make her get out. I will tell you briefly what happened after Regina left. She still tried to get us to change our minds. When it became that we wouldn't, she tried to recruit her family into guilting us. Most of them didn't bat an eye, but we did get some hate from some family. That was the last straw for us, and Leo informed Regina that she shouldn't bother contacting us. We were done with her. Regina then had to move in with family members for a while. Well then, she got kicked out of all those places. Who would house a woman who didn't earn but loved to spend like she owned a gold mine? The family got tired of her soon. In the end, she was actually forced to get 2 jobs to rent an apartment. It is small and cramped, but Regina can't do better at the moment. We are still in no contact with her and are living happily. The house was a great investment for me, and I got a good amount from renting it out. I quit my second job since I no longer needed it. I have also cut down on my work hours and am enjoying my life better. My hard work did pay off, and now I can relax a bit. But I can't say that for my princess mother-in-law. I guess karma does come after you in the end. Anyway, she's none of my concern anymore. But the events that happened still make me smile at times.